Hey everybody, I'm Matt Hill. I'm in the Trace Management Podcast Studio today. I'm here with my guest, Evan Botizan, and this is our show, the Talking Energy Show. Welcome, Evan. Welcome to the podcast studio. What do you think of this?
No, man, it's pretty nice. I mean, when you invited me here, I didn't know what to expect, but this is a full-blown podcast studio. I kind of like it.
I mean, we've done a decent job. I need to put a lot more of the sound barrier stuff up. Sometimes it's a little echoey in here because it's pretty large.
Oh yeah,
room for this. But we've got a cool little camera set up that works on my phone. And anybody that's interested in coming in here and doing an episode, I want to hear from you and the voices of our industry, including yours, man. You've been around a while. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody how'd you get in the oil field? Where are you from?
Okay, so like we mentioned earlier, my name's Evan Botizan. Originally from West Virginia, born and raised. Went to school there at WVU.
I've seen you wear your colors.
Yeah, so obviously still diehard. When it comes to college sports.
You're always welcome at the Oilfield Tailgate party.
But I always knew I wanted to go into engineering. Didn't really know what kind, so went over to some open houses. Long story short, mechanical and aerospace didn't interest me as much as I thought it was. Oil and gas seemed like it was on the rise. The Marcellus Shale was coming along at that point. This is 2008, so it's in full swing at that point. So I thought, I'll give it a try. It turns out really liked it and got some internships along the way with Chesapeake and signed on with them full time in 2012, and they moved me out here and been here ever since.
So when you're young, how do you even find out for yourself? How did you find out about engineering?
So,
Who
for
stuck
me,
that bug in your head?
my parents, for the most part. I always had a proficiency for math and science, and always kind of liked that part of it.
I've met his parents, by the way. They're amazing. Love them. They're great people.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll be back out here before long.
Yep.
But they kind of put the bug in my ear, and West Virginia's always that's where my dad went to school. I mean, I always knew since I was a little kid that's where I was going to go. But they had good engineering programs at the time, so it's kind of a no-brainer.
Did you have another student that you knew that was in oil and gas out there, or how'd you hear about petroleum engineering?
Not really. I mean, funny story is I originally went over to do either mechanical or a dual major mechanical and aerospace because I've always been very interested in space and things like that.
We all want to go up there and try to float around.
Yeah, so went over originally for that, and during the open house there's a stipulation you have to go to at least one more discipline. So just for whatever reason, I picked,
fate.
Yeah, I guess so, if you want to call it that. Picked oil and gas, and I wasn't real impressed with mechanical and aerospace, and went, and they had a good sales pitch. It was, dynamic industry, all this stuff, exceptional pay, obviously.
Oh, yeah,
that's what, I didn't get into,
return on an investment.
Yeah,
hey, for my degree, I'm going to
school's
get paid
School's
back.
expensive, you got to take care of it somehow.
Yep.
So that's how I got into it. And then again, talking about fate with the Chesapeake thing, this was when everything's blown and gone. They've got a million interns, but all their spots are already spoken for. I knew the operations manager out of Jane, West Virginia, through a family friend, and I said, hey, here's my resume. If something pops, keep me in mind. And lo and behold, somebody dropped out and couldn't go. And long story short, that's how I got in and got my foothold. So,
what was they came to your school to look for interns and said, hey, by the way, we like you.
Yeah, so I kind of, it was the other way around. A lot of people came and headhunted at West Virginia, but I didn't have an internship going into my sophomore year, and I was like, well, everything was spoken for at the point, and I wasn't behind the eight ball. They usually don't get them until junior year, but I wanted to go out and try and get ahead, and all the internships were spoken for, and that's where I took my resume down to Jane Lou and dropped it off and said, hey, if anything pops, you have anybody drop out, whatever it may be, just keep me in mind. And
man, that's cool.
Yeah. So it was once again one of those things that, and I'll tell, anybody this young and upcoming in the industry, it's, you got to stay hungry, and you really got to want, especially nowadays when
thirst for knowledge, first of all.
Yeah. And you got to be hungry, and you got to be a go-getter, or you're just not going to make it.
Yeah, look for every opportunity to lend a hand to others.
Yeah, and it's not always about, initially it's not always about securing that high-paying internship. I mean, sometimes you got to, get your name out there and say, hey, I'm willing to help, let me see what I can do to help, even if it's cleaning tanks, whatever it may be. You got to get started somewhere and, start to show your worth at that point.
Yeah, and you have what was your first internship like? Do they
Very, very interesting. It quickly went from an internship to, okay, we need people to supervise clean-out runs on workover rigs.
Man.
So I had probably a week of oil field experience, and they said, hey, do you think you can do this? And I said, yes, of course. I'm
why would you not?
No, but I was like, oh my, I'm 19, 20 years old,
and the boss.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't like I was doing anything like managing a drilling rig or anything like that. It's a clean out run for TCP when they go in and get ready for frac. So, not a whole lot can go wrong, but still, I'm managing guys that, some of them are twice and a half my age at that point. Some of these guys
got
50 years old. And,
they call everything something different than you've learned it. Yeah. They're like,
but lo and behold, it was kind of just, throw you to the fire, but it worked for me. I'm not going to say I was the best or anything like that, but, I did good enough that, they brought me in during my Christmas break, and I worked through my entire Christmas break helping them get ready for this stuff. So it was a very, very good experience, but it was not like, most of the internships nowadays are extremely structured, and most of them back then were too. You see X amount of weeks of this, X amount of weeks of that. Mine was, we're so busy, we need you right here. And that's just kind of what I did. And it was, like I said, phenomenal experience, but not a typical internship, I don't think.
But they paid you too.
No.
But not all internships in the industry are paid internships.
No, which is unfortunate. I think, I don't see that as...
I like free labor. It's a genius way to get for an operator.
Exactly. And, a lot of other industries are much more prone to it. My wife's industry is a lawyer. A lot of people work for free, as interns, which is insane.
Like you're getting that resume experience, so therefore in their heads it adds up to money down the line.
Which it doesn't, but it's I have differences of opinions on unpaid internships. So
I'm looking for an intern to come in here and do all my what do you call it, the production stuff on the back end.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to come in here, sit down, talk on the microphone with my friends. Mm-hmm. And hit the record button, and then somebody else edit this later.
There's a certain value in that, getting some of your time back, not having to do that.
Yeah. Should I pay a kid out of college to do it, though, or do it for free for the resume? I'm going to have to...
Yeah, I mean, that's on each employer's... that's on each employer's... the onus is on each employer there, but, that was...
I'm going to get what I pay for.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. You attract top-level talent. They're not there to work for free. I'm not saying money at the end of the day is not the end all be all, but we all got to eat and everything like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not suffering, so I say stuff like that. And then I'm like, oh man, if I didn't have, like when I was younger and just like scratching to climb everything, it was the end all be all at the time in my head. And I'm like, oh, if I only had money, I wouldn't, I'd be happy. I wouldn't suffer, blah, blah. Yeah. So after your internship, what was the, did they hire you full time? Yeah.
So they hired me full time. I had one more internship, and it was actually out here in Oklahoma City. So I was out here for about 3 months in between my junior and senior year. And like the third day back at college, they called me and said, hey, we got a spot for you. Do you want it? Wow. Of course. So
of course I do.
And at that time, I was kind of wanting to get out of West Virginia. Not that I didn't like it, but I just wanted to see something else. And said, hey, we're gonna.
And you're ready. You're like, hey, let's go. I mean, if I go to the Permian, if I go to Houston, if I go to Denver, here,
and then I'm already out in the general area. So they said, we'll start you out there. And they asked me what I wanted to, if I had my pick, what I wanted to do, and I said drilling. I had both of my completions were in production and both of my internships were in production and completions. So. I always wanted to do drilling. I just didn't have the opportunity, there. But they gave me my choice and got into drilling, and that's what my, signed on to be a field engineer. That's what I went and did for about 2 years.
What was the most challenging part of that whole, once you get to college till that time? Like, what do you recommend for, students that are, possibly watching this and want to get into oil and gas and engineering side of it? Like, what do you recommend to them to do that you wish, you knew back then?
You need to be extremely effective at budgeting your time. There is a finite amount of time in a day, in a week, in a month, and you need to work on being effective at managing that. Because especially early on in your career, if you're going into drilling, working in the field, pretty much any discipline. If you're going to work in the field, long hours, you're not at home. You're not at home a lot. It was easy for me, single guy. Yep. I didn't have anything, I didn't have anything tie me, but, people coming out with girlfriends, wives, and, I just spent the last 5 months working as a, company man on a rig.
Yep.
You need to be effective at budgeting your time and the one thing, for younger guys as single, maybe this doesn't apply as much, but people with a family is you need to realize that things at home need to be in order before you go out. All that stuff, all that other stuff can wait. You need to have your stuff, lined up at home. Family is obviously your most important thing.
I mean, that's why we're doing all this.
Exactly. But I think for young guys, single guys, more so than that is learn to budget your time.
Because I think you and I could go out in the woods and survive, without oil and gas products. I mean, we'd have loincloths from deer and, like use hoofs for some kind of weapon. But, since my wonderful wife likes to have things, and so do I now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to budget that time, make sure the home life is good, and I'm not giving away a house to an ex-wife.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to, and that's the thing, there are plenty of stories out there, people, families not making it because, husband, whatever, is away for extended period of time. And, in most situations, especially in drilling, being a 24/7, 365 job, it requires a lot of your time.
Yep.
So I think level setting that expectation, especially if you're going to go work in the field or, even new to the office where you get lumped with a lot of the, busy work and stuff that the younger guys, generally do, you need to make sure that you don't let that eat you up and that consume you. So I think that's something that's very important, especially for the younger guys. Yeah. I mean, anybody can learn that lesson. It doesn't have to just be younger guys.
Yeah, but for us, I mean, there's so much of this industry, and you're right. I mean, just budget your time, give it all.
And it's not. I can't give you the Rosetta Stone when it comes to budgeting your time. I think that's something you've got to learn and you have to practice. But there are people that can help you out with that, and I'd be more than willing, especially younger, older, whoever it may be. If you want some help and some of the pitfalls that I went through on that side of it, by all means, just reach out to me, and I'd love to help you.
See, that's where, and I'm the same way. I want to. You and I'm older than you, and you're already way ahead of where I was at your age. Like learning that whole, man, I've been given so much. Like, oh my gosh, I have enough time now to give back to others. I do this to give back to our industry, and now you're already seeing man, I'm fortunate, and so let's start giving back.
Yeah, and I mean, I was very fortunate enough to have good people surrounding me, and I think that is, another one of the lessons is you can't do whatever it may be in the oil field or most likely any industry, is you can't do it by yourself. No one is good enough to do this job by yourself. You have to surround yourself with good people and trust them to do their jobs, to help you do your job. And, surround yourself with good mentors. I talk to people in the industry that I've worked with, and, a guy who really helped me out, one of our former VPs at Chesapeake, he now works for a company out of Houston, Bill Martinez.
Yep.
I still talk to him probably monthly.
Keep your mentors close.
Yeah. And it's not always the big thing for me is it wasn't always, hey, when you want to talk about the industry, where I'm working now, they said, okay, you're going to spend some time in the field, work as a company man and all that stuff. And I was perfectly fine with it. But my number one question to him is, how do I handle that with my wife? Because when we first got married, I was in the office, or I was home every day, especially COVID. We saw each other every minute of every day there for a while. And then it went from that to, bam, I'm gone for 14 days, at a minimum. So it was, obviously it's a big change. It's a big change for me, but being in the oil field for at that time, 8.5, 9 years, I knew what to expect. I knew what I was getting into.
We're comfortable. We'll see you in 6 months, boys. Yeah, no problem.
So, but my number one question to him is how do I handle that? How do I plan my home life so that, obviously it's going to be a strain, but how do I prevent it from getting to so much of a strain to where it starts to affect us? So,
send flowers and jewelry, wine.
Yeah, whatever it may be. But he was extremely helpful on that front. So it's not only, learn from other people, other people. I'm not saying other people have made mistakes, but, the people who are confident enough in themselves to recognize that they made mistakes and help others out with that.
Oh, I've made a lot of mistakes.
It's huge. And, he had told me some stuff and things that, he didn't do right, or things that he saw that he wishes he would have done better. And, it helped me tremendously. So, I've came a long way in 10 years, but I didn't do it by myself. I learned from others that said, hey, don't do, either, hey, think about doing this, or, I've done this before, think about doing it a different way, has helped me miss a lot of those pitfalls. I've still made mistakes. Everybody has. But I think that's very important, is you have to, keep a good team and keep good mentors around you.
Yeah, everybody I talk to, I'm always like, guys, I did not get anywhere I'm at today with a lot of people before me putting their arm around my shoulder and saying, hey, kiddo, come here. let me introduce you to all these people.
Yeah.
You know, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do.
Yeah, it's, I'm 10 years into the industry now, and I'm just thinking about, where I was and where I am now and the people along the way that have helped me get there. It's been a fun ride, not always up. There's been some downs.
And some ups and downs.
Yeah, just
shopping all of our friends' resumes to the entire world and like, anything yet? Anything yet? Oh, man.
I mean, I spent, crazy. After 8 years at Chesapeake, COVID, bankruptcy, everything comes along, I get a call and don't have a job.
Now they're back to buying assets. Like,
what? It's funny. But, at the time, it was it was a gut punch. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, that's a huge gut punch.
And you go from, being very secure. And, at the time, a lot of my self-worth was tied up in being a drilling engineer. That's what I was. That's what I knew. That's what I was good at. At least I think I was good at it.
Pretty good.
So
success stories right there.
That's, it went from that to what am I going to do now? So, luckily I found my way back.
Yeah. What are you doing now? I can't wait to hear about all this, man. Hey, check it out. Everybody needs to pay attention right now because he's been hard at it.
Yeah. So, all started there not too long after I had gotten laid off. Again, friends in the industry got me in with DET Consulting. They're based out of Houston, project management company. Long story short, and I'll get into more of the details here shortly, is we manage drilling projects for either private equity or smaller companies that, may not have their full drilling staff or, may not be the size of a Devon, any of those companies.
I mean, we're probably never going to see the size of those companies anymore. I mean, we've got a couple towers left of full drilling engineers, but not like we used to.
So, we partner with those companies to manage their projects for them and use our expertise and, our ability to leverage vendors to provide them a large-scale product for a small company. A large-scale operation, we're able to bring all of that in-house and work with them as partners. So I had talked to my boss now, is Pat Salvo. He's based out of Houston for DET. He runs DET, president, all that good stuff. An industry friend got me in front of him, and, this was last November, so a year ago now. And he said, times are tough, which they were, at that time. Oil's cratering, nothing really going on. They're still fortunate enough running a rig or two and everything like that, but there's no room for me. And I understand that. And he said, hey, stay in touch with me. When things come back around, just keep in touch with me. And I stayed in touch with him, and, about every month gave him a call. And then, he came calling in May and said, hey, you ready to go to work? I said, hell yeah. I'm ready to go to work.
Never stopped working and just I want to get paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. So signed on with him and went to work in the field as a night company man down in South Texas, drilling a couple of different plays down there.
So fun, man. Once you get back in the field, man, you're like, yes.
Oh, I loved it. But, at the end of the day, the goal for me and Pat was, prove myself in the field, get up to speed, all that stuff on how they do business, and then eventually start managing projects for them. And that's what I do now, as a project manager. For right now, I'll be managing a rig. Once it gets done on this operator and moves to the next one, I'll pick it up from there. The other part of my job is going and reaching out to companies. They have a huge base in Houston and places around Houston, but the unique opportunity for me is I'm not in Houston. I'm in Oklahoma City. Yeah. I can access Oklahoma City operators, access DFW operators, and all the private equity money that flows between here and there. It's a unique opportunity for me to help build the brand too. So.
That's a curious question for me. So anybody listening out there, because I don't think we have the numbers in this room, but how many operators are out there? Any idea at all? Total
operators, I couldn't give you that number. Anything that I said would be a best guess. The amount of operators that we work with right now is about 62 or 61.
61 operators. That's amazing.
So
in my head, I always wonder, so that's your cut, but total operators, and then how many operators have full-time engineers on staff and that percentage?
That number is coming down every month.
Yeah.
I think your days of, they're still going to be around. Your Devons, your Chesapeakes, your companies like that will be around, and your mid-sized company to large-scale companies are always going to have that in-house drilling department. But what you're seeing
is the small operators are in the thousands?
I would think so. Yeah.
So all of them need an engineer from time to time, whether it be for a drilling project a completion, a workover, a clean out, all of it.
Yeah, and the thing that we provide, there's a lot of those operators that may drill 1 or 2 wells a year.
Yep.
Or maybe 1 or 2 wells every other year.
Or not any at all, and they just keep production up.
Yeah, but, then they, a company we were just recently drilling for, they just put their first 2 wells in the ground, and, they came to us, and, we were able to help them do that. And the thing that I like about that is if we can get in the door with them early and start managing this up front, the big thing for us is planning. Got to plan. You got to plan ahead. Allow us to leverage our expertise and experience and deliver for these small companies. If they're only drilling 1, 2, maybe 3 wells a year, if something happens and they try and do it in-house or something like that, or, they're just not given, they're just not given the experience that they need and they lose one of those wells. I mean, that's a kill for a small company with tiny margins. Losing a $2, $3, $4 million well is an absolute killer. A Chesapeake, any of those companies, they can write
they have to absorb it.
They can write one of those off every once in a while. Your small companies, that may be it. So, talking to operators, and I just was meeting with one a couple of weeks ago, is they've tried going it solo before, and they drilled 3 wells and lost 2 of them. Mm. And I'm talking, I was like, you guys can't afford to do that. And the one thing
you're cheap, so project management and engineering is way cheaper than losing a well.
Exactly. It allows us. We get in there early. We help them plan and foresee these problems that they may not have thought of, that, even though we're a smaller company, we have tons of experience. We're on pace.
Oh yeah, you're used to regulatory, you're used to the AFEs, you're used to the working with the geology department, reservoir, completion team. Yeah. I mean, you guys, especially in Chesapeake, you guys had those top down, to bottom meetings.
And here we do too. DET, we cover it all the way from upfront planning, staking wells all the way through. We do completions, we do completions as well. And, the thing that we offer that really helps our customers out a lot, especially now, is leveraging our experience. We have experience, whether it be project managers, engineers, we have experienced hands. The big thing right now is we've got hot rigs, and we're able to schedule those out and open up slots for companies who want to come in and drill 1 or 2 wells. They don't have to pick a rig up out of the dirt, deal with all the mob, deal with all the gremlins that come with all of that.
The rigs already have hands that are experienced.
Yes, which that's very, very hard to find nowadays. It's, and everybody's dealing with it. And,
it's definitely a pinch point in our industry right now. You see it all over LinkedIn. Like, I saw Amanda's post. You see, all the big drilling contractors and all the little ones are all looking for hands.
But, we're able to leverage those rigs that we already have, and we're able to work with those rig contractors as a larger company, as DET as a whole. And maybe we're going and drilling a 2-well package for an operator, and that's their only 2 wells, but we're still treated as a larger operator because we're, like I said, we're on pace for about 100 wells this year. So, we're putting a lot of holes in the ground. It may be for different operators.
Yeah, but you're still doing it.
Yes, but we leverage that, and we're able to leverage vendors as a larger company, get better pricing. The big thing that's, holding up a lot of companies right now is casing. Casing's an absolute killer. It's very, very hard. I don't want to say impossible.
Why are we not making more casing here in the U.S.?
I don't.
Where is that pinch point not being solved right now?
So what it was I think it's people, 2, and then it's supply chain. It's just not there. When everything crashed, it hasn't been as quick to build back up. We went from basically,
I don't want it to build back up though from overseas supply. I want it to build back up, but I'm like, look, America. Everybody's paying higher prices, mostly because we've now outsourced everything.
Yeah.
If we're going to pay these prices, let's make it American made.
Yeah. So, while we can't solve those problems, those are at a much larger level than what we are.
I think we're solving them right now in this studio.
We can utilize, the fact with all these different pipe sources that we have, they know how much pipe we're going to put in the ground per year. So we're able to still leverage them and get casing. Whereas your smaller operators that maybe they do it in-house.
Because your vendors are coming to you and saying, hey, I've got 100 wells for this project. Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so, we can say, hey, the package is a lot larger than just X operator that's drilling 2 or 3 wells. Yep. So we can leverage that and reduce pricing and get casing, which you're seeing with a lot of your smaller operators. They're not even able to get it.
I do that. So for night wool tools or now for night fire, if I'm working with you or Trace or Crescent or Basin, like Basin gets their price, not the operators they work for. Crescent gets their price. You guys can have your price from us. Hey, Matt, I'm going to use you on every project. I want my price.
And I think that allows us to stave off, and you're going to see increases across the board. Things are going to get more expensive. That's just a fact of life right now. But
mostly because you're going to send me the RFQ for all of those operators, and I'm going to you're going to be like, wait, why is this guy this price and this guy this price? Matt, I get one price across the board.
Yeah, so but we work with a lot of vendors, and are able to stay away some of that. And the other thing is we have a working relationship with a lot of these vendors, so we know the level.
Well, it's the same. This is a partnership,
Yeah.
buddy. If I know that you are going to use me for every project, I'm going to make sure that your equipment's going to be the best. I'm going to make sure that you get it out on time, that you're going to get the best price. All the things that you need as an operator, I'm going to work really hard to maintain.
Yep.
You're not going to be calling and going, oh, hey, Matt, I need this. I'm like, I don't have it. I'm going to know you need it.
Yeah, and that's what, we develop, strategic partnerships with a lot of vendors, and, we have our preferred vendors for our larger, whether it be directional, whatever. And, we'll get operators and be like, this is, who we suggest. And, we would like to use them because we know the level of service that they're going to provide.
Yeah.
And that allows us to have some more of a known quantity and get a better price point. Now, it may not be the cheapest, and there are a lot of things that I won't do just because they're cheapest. Because if they cannot give me the level of service or the performance, then they're going to end up costing me more money.
Yeah, but at Chesapeake, Chesapeake really they were the first, I think, in Oklahoma City to adopt procurement department, right? And so you saw the beginnings of it and got all that experience with working with your procurement department and going, hey guys, thank you for going out and shopping all of our vendors for all these prices. And I appreciate that list, but also if you forgot these 3 guys who, yes, they weren't the cheapest, but here's why I use them, and teaching the procurement department, like, hey, you need to call him, and him because they're the best.
Yeah. And we were fairly handcuffed on that side there to where, here we're, if we decide that they're the best performing vendor, then that's who we're going to use and who we think will provide the best product to the operator that we are drilling for, or, completing wells for, whatever it may be. That's who we're going to use. And we've developed some very good relationships with these vendors, and they provided us a great level of service and allowed us to go out. And like I said, for that recent operator that drilled the first 2 wells that they have ever drilled, no problems, able to put them in the ground, in a fairly challenging area, because we as DET have been there, done it before. We know the pitfalls, and that allows us to use that expertise and drill for them like we're a much larger operator, like they're a much larger operator, and get those efficiencies that come with it.
What are you excited about on that part of the, being part of an engineering and project management firm now? Like what are you seeing that's really like exciting coming down the pipeline?
The thing that's most exciting for me is obviously the project management. Being a drilling engineer, I have a lot of that experience already. There's some new things. I'm responsible for a lot more of it than I was at my previous operator, or my previous job. I'm just responsible for a lot more, but I knew that going in, and I'm excited about that. More responsibility, more freedom to do, more freedom to do how things
beginning to end.
Yeah,
and do then.
And I'm really excited for that. But I think the thing that I'm most excited for that I haven't done before is reaching out to these smaller companies. And the other part of my job is sales.
Oh yeah,
I'm selling. I'm selling the company and myself.
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing that I'm most excited about. I got some experience.
Little business development. Side.
Yeah, exactly. Going out and reaching these new vendors and selling the product, and the product is hey, let us help you develop. Let us help you develop these wells, and we'll deliver you a great product.
And you're meeting with your peers, obviously. Like, hey, I was at all these operators, so I'm you. But now I'm, doing this, for you.
Yeah, and a lot of these smaller operators, the engineers, they're not solely responsible for drilling or completions. They're operations engineers, so
you're
good at a little
them,
bit.
They're reporting to their people.
Yeah, they're good at a little bit of everything. But hey, let us come in. We've done this before. We've got the tools to do all this. Let us come in and deliver you a great.
So, whenever you're leveraging your new customer in front of you, like, what do you come into them and say, hey, by the way, I see you're about to start this project, and here's what we offer.
Mm-hmm. So, initially I'll go in, do all of my research up front, where they're drilling, what they're drilling, if they can, a little introductory email, say, hey, here's who I am, here's what we do.
Yep.
I see you're drilling in whatever play it may be. We've got, we've got rigs there and have run and got some experience. Do you mind if I put together an AFE for you? That's kind of my starter. And some people are to that point and some people are before that point. You know, kind of if they're to that point, I'll take them in and show them the AFE. And I don't ever lowball AFEs. I'm very transparent in what each cost is.
That's just going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, no, it'll end up biting you in the ass or something like that. So I'll let them, and my goal, you know, I'll get them, hey, what are you looking for in a good operator or somebody to operate your wells? And I'll explain to them, you know, hey, here's my AFE. If you have any questions, let's talk about it. And, you know, kind of the selling points for me, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. We've got hot rigs with good crews. You know, we provide all of our own company men, people we trust.
So on that, whenever there's project management teams and engineering firms like yours and you put out your people, well, if they have a question, they can call you. And so they have, basically they have an engineer on staff if they, you know, use your company.
It is. And we are, each project manager all the way up to Pat is intimately involved in their projects.
Oh, Pat.
You know, why
aren't you here, Pat?
He's a very busy man. But we're intimately involved in each one of our projects. And each one of our projects that we develop all the planning for and do all that stuff, we see it all the way through. You know, we're there, you know, every single day. We operate as a superintendent at the end of the day, and it's, you know, communication between the field personnel and me. You know, it's a big team at that point. It's not me doing everything. It's not them doing everything. It's a team come together. And, you know, that's kind of how we, you know, try to differentiate ourselves is, you know, we get in there, get the planning done early. You know, we want to be in there as early as possible. We're not charging by the hour. So that allows us to get in there. If I can talk to an operator, get in there a year ahead, 6 months ahead, whatever it may be, as much time as they'll afford to give me, allow me to go through.
If you get 6 months or a year, let me know about that.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. That would be extremely.
We're still all on the price of oil. You know, like, oh, it's right now.
Oh, we're getting calls from people we're working with and say, hey, can you go drill us a well in 2 weeks?
Yep.
So you know, we're seeing that.
Yes, I can for the right amount of money. Yes, I can. All my vendors would hop on board for the right price.
So we're, you know, but we like to get in there as early as possible because we truly believe one of the things that sets us apart is that planning ahead of time. We've seen between the four of us, we've seen a lot. We've done a lot. We know if we don't know the answer, we know the people to call.
Yep.
And let's plan a lot of this stuff out of the way. So
you learned this. Hey, so guys like Evan, like got out behind that screen, out of that cubicle and went out there and met everybody in the industry and shook palms, whether it be service guys like me or other engineers, but they went to meetings. And that's why I'm doing this. I want all of you guys listening to this to go out there and meet people in our industry so that you have those connections.
Yeah, because it will help you. It will help you certainly.
I wouldn't have him in here on this podcast unless I was like, oh, that's a solid dude. I want him in here. Smart.
So, you know, back to what we were talking about, you know, meeting with people is that I like to get in there and, you know, I think the thing that differentiates us is let me get in there, let me and the team start planning and everything and develop you a product. So we've drilled this well 1,000 times on paper before we even get the rig out there.
Yeah.
So that takes away a lot of potential pitfalls of,
There's still going to be pitfalls.
There is. Nothing survives, you know.
Nothing
like Tyson said, you get punched in the face. You know,
rock. It's always the rock.
You know, you get, you know, everybody's got a plan. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched. Yeah. So it's the same thing out there. But all of that pre-planning that goes into it, we're ready for whatever those punches may be. And, you know, we've got the people out there with the correct amount, you know, the right amount of experience. And, you know, we don't deploy a day guy and a night guy. Yes, we have a day guy and a night guy, but in our minds, they are both day guys and are capable of operating or running the rig themselves. So that allows us to have a lot of experience out there, and, you know, all these things that may happen that, you know, weren't on our best laid plan, we're still ready for them. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to solve it, whatever it may be. So I think the big thing for us is pre-planning. We have hot rigs that are already in place, and we're able to leverage our vendors due to our larger footprint for drilling for a lot of different operators. We're able to leverage our vendors to get better pricing and procure equipment such as casing.
The Hochtown's working. Thank you. Hey, by the way, Hochtown, if you want to be a sponsor for this podcast, just hit me up.
So I think that's kind of what sets us apart right there, and that's kind of why I'm excited to get started.
It is exciting. I mean, just all the activity again. I mean, that's what we all live for. It's like, hey, let's, so what are you excited about right now as far as what project do you want to sink your teeth into?
I
You
really
want drilling? You want, you're like, oh man, now I'm really into completions. Now I'm into facilities, pipelines. Like what do you want to like go and grab?
I'm still primarily drilling, and the thing that I'm excited is to go out and grab a project from one of these PE companies that, maybe they've
4-mile lateral.
Yeah. Well, let's start with one, and then we'll go from there. So, but the main excitement I have now is going out to these smaller companies, and saying, hey, here's what we can deliver for you, and getting one of them to say yes, and going and delivering that project to them. That's what I'm most excited about. Obviously I'm incredibly thankful, for the work that we have right now, and things are going great. But thank you. The thing that really excites me is going out there and helping somebody else. Getting the next company to say yes and let us help.
Some mineral owner is going to be like, "Holy crap! They just made me a lot of money."
Exactly.
Let's do this again.
That's what we're here. That's what we're here to do. At the end of the day, we want to provide a great product that allows them at the end of the day to make more money.
Do you guys have any of your own wells? They're like, so say I come to you with a project, and you're like, you know what? We want in on this project. Why don't, instead of you guys paying us, for our services, you give us a piece of this well? Do you guys ever do that?
I don't believe so, but I can't speak to that, and I'm just not going to speak to it just because I don't know. The main bulk of our business is project management for operators.
Yeah, you don't ever come across a project like, man, I wish I had a piece of that one that I just did.
Yeah, but usually I don't have enough money in my pocket to get in on one of these wells.
But that's where you use your brains. You're like, okay, well, listen, I don't have any money to put into this, but I can go make this project happen, and then you give me a piece of this well.
Maybe one of these days, but I'll stick with what we got right now. It's working pretty well, and we're helping a lot of people out.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you better it's going to be Evan Botizan Consulting someday.
Let's not get too far out over our skis. So
I don't want to get you fired on the first day of your podcast.
No, we're doing well, and the company's really, really starting to grow. So I think, with them bringing me on, that shows they have enough trust in me to help grow the business. And like I said, I'm uniquely placed to really access this in the DFW market, where a lot of these smaller companies are. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to start popping up again everywhere. Hopefully, we can see like Tulsa, being reinvigorated. There's just all the oilfield towns are just like popping.
Yeah,
I'm excited. To see
it is exciting, especially after the last year that we had. It feels really good.
Everybody
really
get outside, use oil and gas, buy things. Like everything's made of oil and gas. We need you out there.
So it's been exciting, and at least the way that we see it, it's certainly going to continue this way. I think the supply chain constraints on a much larger scale are going to prevent.
Are you guys having pinch points?
Yeah, I think it's everybody's having pinch points. It's the difference between us having pinch points and us not being able to do business. That's, I think, where we stand uniquely leveraged to continue to do business where a lot of your smaller operators can't.
Have you called anybody and weren't able to get something you needed?
Not yet. Again, going back to kind of the pre-planning, whether it be me or the other project managers have kind of they've kind of see this starting to snowball and getting to a spot. So we've been out in front of this, whether it be, procuring mud products, procuring casing, whatever it may be. We know we have a 3 or 4 well package coming up that we need X amount of motors for, order them all up front and prevent that from becoming a problem.
Yep.
And I think having the foresight to do that, again, seeing this coming allows us to provide wells to companies.
That's a really hard thing for me to do too. When I give quotes, like, man, right now, sometimes I want to give quotes for a week. And I know I'm like, hey, for my friends, I'm going to give a quote for a month. But that also like gives me like just, butterflies in my stomach. Like, man, I'm giving this quote for a month and everything I do might be double the price, and I might lose my butt here in a month on this.
And it's tough. I mean, none of us can see the future. We just try to see where things are pointed and try and use our relationships with these vendors to eliminate as much of the supply constraints as we've seen. But I think it's going to eventually affect everybody. I think casing is going to be the thing that really starts to to hamper the growth of the U.S. oil business before long.
Well, I'm unabashedly for profit, but as you know, all my Friendstermers know, if you call me and tell me, hey, this is the price I can pay, then I'm probably just going to give you that price because I trust you. You know, we've worked together long enough. I'm like, hey, look, if this is the price you need, I'll go to my people and say, can we do this? And it's just one phone call. You know, that's it.
Yeah, no, and I think that, again, you know, having these experiences, getting out and seeing vendors, whether it be you or, you know, X mud company, Y directional company, whoever it
Well, there's only one directional company. Scott Birch Directional, everybody. SB Directional.
But getting out there and getting in front of this and talking to those guys and developing that relationship and saying, you know, hey, we've got this work, you know, let's do this work and maybe stave off some of those increases and still provide a good solid product for the operator at not some exorbitant costs, because it's very hard to explain to an operator afterwards. You quote them this and like, well, why did everything go up?
It's 2 weeks. And 2 weeks down the road, everything went up.
Yeah, I know, and that is the answer. And again, you know, when I was saying I'm transparent, I'm fully transparent. If casing prices or whatever it goes up, you know, I'm going to let the operator know that, and here's what we can deliver for you.
What's the fastest thing that goes up? Fuel costs for the operations, like diesel?
Fuel costs, since I started in May, fuel's probably gone up from $2.1 to $2.9 in some areas. So yeah, that has gone up.
Call Michael at Pilot. He'll help you out. I'm going to plug all my friends today.
Oh, good. So, you got to.
That's why I'm plugging this guy.
Salesman.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that, and then, you know, everything has started to come up behind that. So.
What's the coolest technology in the industry right now that you see? I mean, I get on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. And by the way, I love Twitter. You need to be on Twitter and tell your opinion every day. Oilfield is ruling Twitter right now. That's fantastic. But what's the coolest technology you see in our industry that's really a game changer?
I don't, you know, there's obviously.
And you may not even be like a part of it, but you like this. That's cool.
I don't know that I would consider, you know, the coolest thing that's really helped us out a ton, that may not be the coolest or highest tech, has been the evolution in mud motors and MWD technology. You know, we've almost completely eliminated EM from even being a thing because pulse technology has come along, and it's so fast and so reliable now at a much cheaper cost point than EM. That has been a big game changer for us when it comes to actually drilling faster. And that may not be the sexiest technology or
the
newest rotary steerable or whatever.
Yeah, we need better rotary steerable. Cheaper, faster, stronger, better rotary
Exactly.
steerable.
You know, they've got some really cool technology, but it doesn't apply to what I do because the price point's so high. It's offshore technology. Really, really cool stuff, but I wouldn't consider that a big evolutionary step for U.S. onshore. Because
do you think that'll have to be with something like within the mud and the equipment, like where we make it like a faster, better, stronger, like more data over that?
That's what it has been. Is you get more effective you have just more effective mud pulse technology to pump up more data, get faster tool faces. I mean, I can remember even 8 years ago getting a tool face every 45 seconds. So that's decent. And now you're getting them every couple seconds.
Every couple seconds, and you make that into milliseconds.
Yeah,
and
so
you've got
your
a game changer.
Your geosteering improves. Your directional control improves because you don't let it get so out of whack because you're missing tool faces. You land,
but some of that's going to be auto. I mean, how many geosteers are going to be in front of their laptop one of these days? You know?
Oh yeah, I mean it's
all going to be automated.
A lot of it is, and that's the other thing. You know, going back to DET that we leverage is we have an in-house geosteerer that we provide if the customer requires. Some customers do their own geosteering, and we understand that. But we've got a guy talk to him daily on what's going on and everything. So that allows us, we leverage his experience and helps us land curves, stay in target, substantially more. But the coolest technology that I have seen is mud motor technology and MWD pulse technology. I don't want to say
we're still like we need better mud motors for the Haynesville. I mean, Oklahoma, Permian, our motors are fantastic, you know, but that's where I say like that because a lot of us are getting into like the geothermal idea.
Yep.
Right. So we're going to go to like, there's places in California that are like 600 degrees.
Yeah.
So how do we put a motor into that?
It's
all metal.
It's coming. Yeah, I mean, you have all metal motors, you have turbine motors, things like that. Technology. I don't want to say it's in its infancy, but when you're talking about the motor technology that we have today, it is in its infancy. Yep. But it's coming along. You know, we drill in the Haynesville as well, and we leverage our our directional provider Liberty down there, and they have some very good hot hole technology that a lot of other companies, are starting to see now as well. And we're able to stay in the hole longer and drill farther. And
I mean, I've talked to people. There's going to be an extra 100 rigs in the Haynesville next year.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
this is like
Chesapeake, Vine.
Yep.
They're gonna pick up. All your Southwestern's gonna pick up.
See if I'm wrong. 100 extra rigs in the Haynesville next year.
Not.
All the people that I met in the Permian that we talked about this, like roundtables with Hochtown whiskey, right? Probably adding up to about 100 extra rigs.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
That's an opportunity for new technology to be employed.
It is, and it's coming, and that's why I say it's not the sexiest thing in the world.
Oh, it is.
One of the coolest technologies I've ever seen was Baker has a rotary steerable tool that you can set a liner on.
What?
And pull the tool out through it.
I did not see that.
It's offshore. It's millions and millions of dollars. Oh. So it's not something we're ever going to see. But I don't consider that cool because I can't use it. So what's cool to me and what's usable to me is maybe different than what's cool and flashy on a large scale offshore, because that's not my realm.
We don't usually get to experience the best and newest technology on land in Oklahoma until a lot of other people have used it.
So,
I like hand-me-downs. That's fine.
I think the amount of curves we've landed and the footage per day increase that we've seen in the past couple of years because of MWD and motor technology is an absolute game changer and step change. And bits have come along. It's not like we went from roller cones to PDCs. We've been drilling PDCs for a while. The PDC technology has improved to go along with that.
PDC now on the outside of motors. Stuff like that.
So we've, that's that. I think that if I had to say, that's probably the technology that I've seen that has helped the most. And there's probably, everybody that's listening and everything, there's probably 100 different answers to that. But for
3D printing, if you design it in your head, you can actually eventually we'll be able to use whatever metallurgy we want and put it into a design.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a bunch of new exciting stuff happening. I think it's going to, you're going to get to the point to where, we have to get faster, we have to get more efficient, and that's going to drive new technology for sure.
Yeah. Well, if we get investors on the East Coast and West Coast and they find out eventually by watching our podcast that oil and gas is the best way to go for their investment dollars instead of the green technology or renewable technology, this is where it's at. Like, if you need energy, it's oil and gas. And invest in these technologies.
Yeah.
Give guys like you. No. All right. Well, I'm going to keep you like a lot of minutes, but let's wrap this up. How do people get a hold of you and plug everything you want to plug right now?
Okay. So you can get a hold of me. I'll give out, I can give you my cell phone and all my contact information, to put, when you put this out. So
it's right now. Everybody's going to be watching this. Yeah.
So, obviously my cell phone, 771-3621 or 304-771-3621. Phone's always on.
Your wife is going to murder me for putting that out there in the middle of the night. People are going to call you.
I told her she better get used to it.
Yeah. This is Oilfield. Yeah. Hey, babe, by the way, you're going to be woken up all the time.
Yeah. And DETconsulting.com is the easiest way, to get to our website. I can put all my contact information, together for my personal email. But the easiest way to get a hold of me is reach out to me. I'm on Facebook, all that stuff. However you want to get a hold of me, call me, text me, email me. It doesn't matter.
He's on LinkedIn. That's
I am on LinkedIn.
We all love LinkedIn. That's our Oilfield Facebook.
Exactly. So obviously I'm on LinkedIn. Message me on there anytime.
LinkedIn should really pay the Oilfield for all that we do.
Yeah, we do.
For them.
We do a lot on
We
there.
do well.
So and then just at a larger scale, just to plug DET Consulting. I like to think that, we're one of the best project management groups out there, and we're not just we don't just supply company man or anything like that. We're a full-scale, full-on project management.
He's going to be running this company, is what he's saying.
No, that's not. Don't put words in my mouth. But I want to.
Allegedly,
I'm looking forward to really helping them out and helping them grow the business. So I like to.
Young blood.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to help develop that project management. And, I want to make sure, obviously we're much more on the drilling side of things than anything else. But, at the end of the day, we provide completions too. We've got our in-house completions guy that we use, and he utilizes a lot of the same stuff that we do, through frac fleets and sand sourcing and stuff to kind of eliminate all these pitfalls that we're talking about.
Sand sourcing. Man, there's a whole nother podcast. I can't wait. Hey, if you know about sand, I want to talk to you. Hey, bring me sand people in this room. And have you seen is the new movie Dune out yet?
It is. I watched it.
Did you ever watch the old version?
When I was little, I think
Damn
that
it.
I did. So, but I don't
You better
remember.
get on Netflix or Amazon right now and watch the old versus new. You want to find out like if my generation's Dune or your generation's Dune is better.
Okay, I'll have to do that. But at the end of the day, I just trying to get the name out there. If we can get a foot in the door and talk to you, we're more than willing to help. I think we can provide a really good product, and would love to hear what everybody has going on.
Bring him problems, man. If you have a problem to solve in this industry, Evan can probably do it. He knows the people and the engineering behind it. Like, he'll sit there and solve a problem for you.
Yeah, no, and I think that,
That's what's good about my friends that are engineers.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I'm not going to say that I've got all the answers, but like we're talking about earlier, I know the people.
Our network can find them for you.
Yeah, but I'd love to help you if you're having an issue, when you're on the drilling side of things and, want to talk about it. My advice is free. At the end of the day, if you just have a question and want to talk about it, just reach out to me and I'd love to help.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you very much.
Take care. God bless. Hey, everybody, see you next time. And reach out to Evan and support him and his company.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Bye. That went well.
Dude, that went perfect. That's exactly what I could have. Every single time.